That wooden pagoda has stood through more than 50 major earthquakes, and it's not the only one. There are about 20 ancient buildings like that, all designed to survive massive quakes. They're scattered around the world, and by the end, you'll see the specific architectural secrets that let them hold up for centuries. You'll see how some temples were built to sway on purpose, or why some cities were carved right into the sides of mountains. And then the question becomes, what have we forgotten in the modern world about building in harmony with the earth? The pagoda rises over 200 feet. It's the wooden pagoda built in the year 1056. It's the oldest and tallest wooden pagoda still standing in China, and it's in a place that's had many, many earthquakes. For almost 1,000 years, it's been there. Its secret is flexibility, not rigid strength. The design uses an ancient system, the bracket. It's like a three-dimensional puzzle. Interlocking wooden pieces fitted together without nails. It's not decoration. It's engineering. Each bracket set is a shock absorber, a flexible joint. It lets the whole structure sway and rock when the ground shakes. The energy from an earthquake, it doesn't travel straight through and shatter things. It gets dissipated. It moves through this intricate wooden network, through the joints. It's redirected and softened until it just fades away. The whole pagoda is a dynamic, layered system, a building that breathes and moves. This was tested in 1976, the Tangshan earthquake. The tremor was felt hundreds of miles away. It was strong enough to topple modern buildings, but the ancient pagoda just swayed on its wooden foundation, its brackets doing their work. For the 920th year, it makes you wonder, those artisans a millennium ago, how did they have such an intuitive grasp of dynamic forces? They built for resilience, not rigidity, a dialogue between wood and wave. That understanding of flexible materials, it would appear somewhere else, in another corner of the world, using a substance we usually think of as cold and unyielding, stone, from wood then to marble to its strength. The Parthenon up on the Acropolis in Athens, it's been there for 2,500 years. Since 438 BC it's seen centuries pass, and it's faced earthquakes, this temple for Athena. It's built on optical illusion really, on defiance. The foundation is the bedrock itself, the limestone of the hill. But what they built on top of it, that's the thing. You look at the base. The stylobate, it isn't flat, it curves up just slightly in the middle. A few inches across the whole length, and the column, they aren't straight up and down. Each one leans in a little. That wasn't a mistake. It was the plan. These slight bends, these curves, they locked the building together. In an earthquake, the whole structure would move as one piece. The columns would rock, the stonework above would shift, but it would all move together. The energy would spread out, and then it would settle back. They held it together with iron clamps sealed in lead with bronze dowels, connections that could move just a little without breaking. That engineering was tested. In 1999, a big quake hit near Athens. It damaged a lot of modern buildings in the city. But the core of the Parthenon, its ancient skeleton, it stood. The precision for that, it's hard to grasp. They had no modern tools, yet they calculated those curves, those angles, to guide the force through the marble. Marble we think of as brittle. They made it resilient. It makes you wonder. What did they understand about balance, about motion that we're still figuring out from that marble temple on a hill? Then the search goes elsewhere, to another empire. One that built with stone on a scale that's hard to believe. That city in the Andes built by the Inca, it's been there since the 15th century, high up on a ridge in mountains formed by tectonic plates. So it's earthquake country, and it's lasted through them for 500 years. The secret is in the stones, the way they're put together. They used a technique called ashlar masonry. Each granite block was cut so precisely you can't even fit a knife blade between them. No mortar. The walls are just these dry-stacked puzzles. Every stone is unique, fitted perfectly to the ones around it. So when the ground shakes, the whole structure moves as one. The stones lock, they shift and settle, but they don't pull apart. Then you look at the shapes. The doors and windows, they aren't rectangles. They're trapezoids, wider at the bottom, narrower at the top. That shape is more stable. It sends the weight and the stress down into the foundation. And the walls themselves, they don't go straight up. They lean in just a little. That gives them a center of gravity that resists toppling. The foundations go deep, set into the bedrock, and they're filled with layers of crushed stone. That crushed stone acts like a cushion, a gravel bed. It absorbs the energy from a tremor, disperses it before that energy can travel up into the walls. Then there's the water problem. It rains a lot there. Water can seep in, cause erosion, freeze and thaw and break things apart. So they built a drainage system, channels under the floors, under the terraces, to guide all that water away, to keep the foundation dry. And the terraces, they're not just for farming, they're massive retaining walls, holding the steep mountainside in place, stopping the landslides that an earthquake can start. The whole place is a kind of conversation with the mountain, built with the terrain, not just on top of it, a mix of spiritual respect for the earth and practical engineering, a sanctuary that's withstood the Andes for centuries. It shows you that surviving a quake isn't just about the building itself, it's about the whole relationship between the structure and the ground it stands on. Which makes you wonder, if you can engineer a single city this way, what about an entire civilization they're facing inland, backs to the sea? A silent watch. They have Easter Island, those huge stone faces, but their survival, the real secret, is underneath them. It's the platforms, the ahu, that's what they stand on. The people built these between 1250 and 1500 AD on a remote island, a volatile one. And these ahu are in seismic design. The ahu isn't just a slab. Layered foundation, a sophisticated one. The core is loose rubble, stones of different sizes, that acts as a cushion. It absorbs shock, disperses the energy of a tremor. And encasing that rubble core is a stone facade, carefully fitted, often with a slight inward slope. That creates a stable shape, a pyramidal form, a shape that naturally resists toppling. The whole structure is a buffer between the shaking earth and the statue above. And the statues help too. Many were carved with a forward lean. A low center of gravity. Their massive bulk settled deep into the ahu platform. The construction itself was a feat, a monumental one. Using basalt stone picks, artisans shaped the volcanic tuff from the quarryette painstakingly. The largest platform, ahu, stretches over 200 feet. It once held 15. A tsunami devastated it in 1960. But the original foundation, the ancient ahu, had survived countless earthquakes before that. Its restoration proved the design's durability, which raises a question, a profound one. On a small, isolated island, finite resources, why invest such effort, not just in monuments, but monuments designed to last through geologic turmoil? The answer seems to be an understanding, a deep understanding of their environment, and a determination to leave a permanent legacy upon it. From this remote Pacific island, the journey goes to a bustling ancient capital, where an entire city was built to dance with the earth. In Nara, Japan, there's the temple. Its 5-story pagoda is the oldest wooden building in the world. It was built around the year 700, and it stood in one of the most earthquake-prone places on Earth for 1,300 years. That survival isn't an accident, it's a design for movement. The core of it is a single, huge piece of cypress, a central pillar that runs straight up through the middle of the pagoda. But the thing is, it's not attached. It's not nailed or bolted to the building. It hangs. It's suspended, resting on the base but free inside the frame above. So when an earthquake hits, the building sways one way, and this heavy free pillar sways the other way, like a giant pendulum. Its weight and that countermotion work as a shock absorber. It dampens the tremor's energy before it can break things. That, combined with a system of interlocking wooden brackets, they're flexible. They let the whole frame rock and shift. Then you have the wide, heavy eaves on each roof. They act like balancing weights. They stabilize that tall, slender shape. Engineers today look at this as a passive damping system. It uses gravity and flexibility against sheer force. The proof was in 1995. The great earthquake hit near Kobe. It was catastrophic. Modern steel and concrete buildings fell. But hundreds of miles away felt those powerful tremors, and it just swayed. On its ancient foundation, no major damage was recorded. It did its silent dance again. There's an elegance to that. The builders didn't fight the quake with rigid strength. They invited the movement in. They made a structure that could dance with the earth and come back to center. That idea of intelligent flexibility, building with nature's force, it didn't stay put. It traveled along ancient trade routes, and it found a new expression somewhere else, in a landscape of baked earth and mountain winds. The Bam was this fortress in the desert made of earth. It stood for 2,000 years, a whole city of mud brick on the Silk Road. Before it was damaged in 2003, it was the biggest adobe structure anywhere, and it lasted so long in an earthquake zone for a reason. The builders knew how to use the earth itself. They used which are sun-dried bricks, and which is rammed earth. These materials have a secret. They're not rigid, not like concrete. They have a natural flexibility. They can absorb vibration. They can shift and settle without just cracking. The walls were thick, and they were battered, meaning they sloped inward. That gave the structure a low center of gravity, so the weight went down into the ground. Inside the citadel, you'd see arches and domes everywhere. That was the genius. An arch is a natural bridge. It sends weight sideways down into the columns and walls. A whole network of them creates a web. It distributes force across everything, so no one point takes too much strain. They even mixed straw into the mortar. That added tensile strength, a flexible reinforcement that held things together when the earth moved. Even though those towers for catching breeze, they had a dual purpose. Their deep foundations and sturdy build acted as reinforcements, anchoring the walls. For centuries, this earthen fortress withstood the tremors. It showed a deep understanding of local materials and the environment. The partial collapse in 2003 was a reminder of an extreme event's power and how even resilient earth architecture has a limit. It makes you think. If the secret of mud brick is flexibility, what happens when a culture chooses the opposite? What if they build with the hardest, most rigid material possible and still defy earthquakes? The answer is a perfect geometric shape, carved from solid rock. The Pyramid of the Sun is massive. It sits there in the Valley of Mexico, completely silent. It was built around 200 AD. It's the colossal heart of, and this is a region that's always known earthquakes. The earth can tremble here. This pyramid wasn't just a platform for ceremonies. It was built to last, engineered for permanence. That resilience starts inside. The core isn't solid stone. It's a mound of rubble and earth and clay all packed together tightly, compacted. Then that entire mound is encased, wrapped in a retaining structure made of stone. So it's like a giant shock absorber, an earthen core inside a stone shell. When seismic waves hit, that loose core could shift, it could settle slightly, and that would dissipate the energy before it ever reached the outer layers, the rigid layers, then the shape itself, that broad, stepped design, the wide base. It gives the structure an incredibly low center of gravity, makes it almost impossible to overturn. The energy from a quake gets directed down and out into that massive footprint. Then there's the facade, the style, that alternating pattern, a sloping panel the next to a vertical panel. That wasn't just decoration. That repeating, segmented structure, it may have stopped large cracks from forming. Let the facade handle stress in smaller sections, more manageable sections, and the proof is in the centuries. Later buildings went up, Spanish colonial buildings in the area, built with rigid techniques. They often got significant damage from quakes, but the ancient pyramid endured. It had already been standing for over 1,000 years by then, which raises a question. Did the builders' beliefs influence the engineering, their cosmology? To them, this was a sacred mountain, a conduit between worlds, building something to last through earthly turmoil that might have been a spiritual imperative, not just a practical one. Architecture as an act of faith, faith in the future. So from this valley, from these ancient giants, our search moves to a different landscape of faith altogether. To the remote cliffs of Armenia, deep in the river gorge, there's a mountain that sings. The Monastery in Armenia. It's not just built on the rock, it is the rock. Founded in the 4th century, it's a sanctuary carved right from the cliff. In a place with a lot of seismic activity, the builders chose the ultimate form of earthquake resistance. They didn't construct a building. They sculpted one from the living mountain. Entire chapels, intricate chambers, the beautiful cross stones called, all hewn directly into the solid stone of the gorge. This is architecture as an extension of geology. When the earth shakes, these spaces don't move. They are the mountain. They sway with it as one thing. There's no structure to collapse because the walls and ceiling are the cliff itself. That monolithic approach gave a perfect, innate defense against tremors, but isn't entirely a cave. It also has sections built from massive stone blocks, the traditional way. And here, the medieval Armenian architects showed incredible sophistication. They used local tough stone, a volcanic rock that's surprisingly lightweight but strong. That reduced the overall weight of the structures, which lessened the inertial forces during a quake. The freestanding churches use huge stone slabs and elegant arches, designed to transfer the loads from roofs and domes straight down into thick, sturdy walls and deep foundations. The whole complex is in load distribution, blending carved and built elements into one resilient whole. Its endurance was proven starkly in 1988 during the devastating earthquake. That event leveled modern cities, caused catastrophic loss. Yet, though much closer to the epicenter than the capital, sustained no significant structural damage. The ancient stone sanctuary, both carved and built, had held firm again. To stand inside its main chamber, lit only by a shaft of light from above, is to feel a profound stillness. It prompts a question not just of engineering but of spirit. What kind of patience, what depth of faith, does it take to create a place of worship by slowly, carefully removing stone? To reveal a space rather than assemble one, it represents a total harmony with the environment, a belief that safety and sanctity could be found within the earth itself. From this mountain sanctuary, we go to a different kind of harmony, where another ancient culture faced a double threat, building not just for shaking land, but for the raging sea that shaking could summon. The Temple of Poseidon is at Cape on those cliffs. It was built in the 5th century BC, and it's a Doric temple placed right on a promontory. This is a spot known for storms and for earthquakes. That location was deliberate because the temple was for Poseidon. He was the god of the sea and also the god of earthquakes, so they built it there in that exact place. They were engaging with that power, honoring the deity whose force they had to withstand. Its longevity comes down to mass and connection. They used local marble, durable stone, but the engineering is in the assembly. The column drums are very large, very heavy, set extremely close together, and then they were locked, iron clamps sealed with molten lead. That made the structure rigid, monolithic. It acts as a single massive unit. So when lateral forces hit it from an earthquake or a storm, the whole temple resists as one solid block. The energy can't find a weak joint. There are finer details, too. The foundation platform, the stylobate, was leveled with incredible precision. That distributed the weight evenly, and the columns have entasis, a slight swelling at the center. That wasn't just for looks to make them appear straight. That gentle curve likely helped distribute structural stresses, added to the stability against shaking. This approach has worked for over 2,000 years. It's endured countless tremors, and the salt spray from the sea. Its survival even inspired Lord later on. In the early 19th century, he carved his name into one of the columns, an act of vandalism, but it's a testament. He was drawn to a ruin that had already survived 2 of Poseidon's domain. So there's a duality here, symbolic and practical. By building a temple to the earthquake god in a seismic zone, the Greeks performed reverence and defiance. They acknowledged the destructive power of nature embodied in their god, and then used their finest engineering to create something to persist against it. It was architecture as a dialogue, a negotiation with the forces that shaped their world. The bent pyramid it was built for, around 2600 BC, its shape is distinct. The angle changes partway up. It goes from a steep 54 degrees to a gentler 43. That's not a flaw, it's a record, an experiment in stability on a colossal scale. This pyramid is a transitional form, between the stepped pyramids and the smooth-sided ones that came later. Its shape shows a practical understanding of structural forces, possibly informed by the Nile Valley's own seismic activity. The prevailing theory is that the builders saw stresses, cracks as they built. So they made a correction. They reduced the angle for the upper sections. That lessened the weight. The outward thrust on the lower courses. That principle of weight distribution is a cornerstone of seismic stability. It keeps a structure from collapsing under its own mass when the ground moves. Inside, the pyramid reinforces this idea. The chambers use a corbelled technique. Each layer of stone projects slightly inward until the ceiling seals. That creates a robust, interlocking vault. Much stronger than a flat ceiling. It can handle the settling and shifting of the massive stone around it. Then the whole structure was encased. Fine limestone with precise joints, a monolithic shell. Even the foundation was a choice, set on a stable bed of gravel and sand, to absorb and redistribute ground movement. The result of this problem-solving engineering is a state of preservation that astonishes. Later pyramids lost their smooth casings, to erosion, to quarrying. The bent pyramid retains a significant portion of its original skin. Its double-sloped form has endured for over 4.5. It prompts a question about ancient innovation. Was this a grand, real-world laboratory, a process of building, observing, and adapting? On a scale we can scarcely comprehend today, the 5 towers of Angkor Wat rise from the jungle. They look like lotus buds made of stone. This was built in the 12th century. It's the center of the Khmer Empire. The land there was shaped by tectonic forces. It's a landscape that can move. This place isn't just a temple. It's a city of stone built to last. That resilience is in its fabric. It's a mix of spiritual vision and practical understanding. The first secret is in the walls. They aren't solid sandstone. Inside there's a core of rough, porous rock. That rock is called laterite. It's lightweight, it's full of voids, then that core is covered. It's encased in blocks of carved sandstone. That method created a composite structure, a heavy, rigid outer skin, supported by a lighter, absorbent inner core. When the ground shook, that laterite heart could compress. It could take the stress, and the sandstone facade could stay intact. The blocks were joined with a technique from woodworking, adapted for stone, mortise and tenon joints. A stone tenon, a projecting pin carved on one block. It fits into a matching hole, the mortise on another. In critical places, these were secured further, with iron cramps set in lead. This created an interlocked structure. It could flex at the joints, without coming completely apart. Then there's the water. Angkor Wat is surrounded by a massive moat, over 600 feet wide. This wasn't just for defense or for symbolism. Conservators think this water acted as a hydraulic stabilizer, a giant one. It kept the water table in the soil consistent. Beneath the temple, dry, loose soil can liquefy in an earthquake. It turns to a fluid, it swallows foundations. A stable, moist substrate is more reliable. The moat was a masterpiece of hydraulic engineering. It may have been the first shock absorber, the most important one. Beneath the galleries is another hidden layer. The foundation isn't just earth. It's an engineered platform, made of layered sand and gravel. This granular base acts like a cushion. It disperses the energy of seismic waves. It stops them from amplifying as they travel upward, into the stone. For centuries, this system worked. Angkor withstood the seismic activity of the region. The greater threats came later, from the jungle reclaiming the stones and from human hands. Its endurance points to a holistic vision. The Khmer builders didn't see a separation between the spiritual and the physical world, between the temple and its environment. They understood. To keep a stone mountain standing, you must first master the water and the earth it stands on. That deep connection between foundation and survival leads to a different stronghold, where the ingenuity isn't in vast moats. It's in the clever deception of a single material, one that seems weak, sits above, a fortress wall like a stone serpent across the hilltop. Built by the Inca in the 15th century, it's not a smooth curtain, it's a series of colossal zigzags, 3 massive tiers of these sawtooth walls, and the stones they used are hard to believe. Some blocks are taller than a person, over 100 tons, but they're fitted together with impossible precision. No mortar. The faces of the limestone and diorite blocks are cut at multiple angles, a 3-dimensional polygonal puzzle. You can't slide paper between them. That's the seismic genius. When an earthquake hits, these irregular, interlocking shapes don't pull apart. They lock. The stones shift and settle against each other. Their immense mass, the friction between them, creates a stable, dynamic whole. The tremor's energy dissipates across thousands of intricate contact points, never concentrating enough force to break it. The walls themselves lean slightly inward. A subtle batter that lowers the center of gravity directs seismic forces down into the foundation. Even the niches and doorways are trapezoidal. That stable shape again prevents stress from cracking the corners. The construction process is still a great puzzle. Theorists talk about stone hammers, sand and water abrasion to polish surfaces, earthen ramps, networks of ropes and log rollers, moved by coordinated teams of thousands. However it was done, the result was a fortress designed to outlast the mountains. Its endurance is proven. Major earthquakes have hit the valley repeatedly. In 1950, a powerful quake devastated the city below. It toppled Spanish colonial churches, built with rigid, rectangular stonework. But the ancient zigzag walls of high on the hill stood completely undisturbed. The puzzle had just tightened, which leads to a question. What understanding did the Inca possess of astronomy, geometry, logistics, to not only move these mountains of stone, but to shape them into a form that converses so intelligently with the trembling earth? From this South American stronghold, the journey arcs across the globe, to the ancient trading hubs of the Middle East, where another civilization mastered a different kind of seismic dialogue. In Yemen, they call it the Manhattan of the desert. These towers of mud brick from the 16th century. They're very old, but they're also the first high-rise apartments. And they're in a place that gets earthquakes. They've survived. That survival comes from understanding the local material, which is mud. Sun-dried mud bricks. You'd think that's fragile, but the design is. The walls are very thick at the bottom, over 3 feet thick. and then they taper, going up like a pyramid. So the weight goes straight down, the center of gravity is low, but the secret is inside the walls. There are horizontal timbers, wooden beams set into the brick at every floor. They're not just for the floors, they create a skeleton, a grid all through the building. When the shaking comes, this wooden frame lets the whole structure sway together. The timbers bend, they absorb the energy, so the rigid mud brick doesn't just crack apart. It's earth and wood fused. Each building also has a stone base, a plinth, that lifts the mud brick away from floodwater and damp ground, and the outsides are maintained. After the rains, they put on a new layer of mud plaster. That upkeep isn't just for looks, it's structural. It seals cracks, it keeps the walls solid against the wind. Then there's the city plan itself. The towers are packed close. The streets between them are narrow, they're like channels. In an earthquake, the buildings lean on each other, buttress each other. It becomes a web, a community holding itself up. This system worked for centuries, has endured the tremors here. It's a dialogue with a harsh place, using only what was there. The threats now are different, changing weather, conflict. Those things challenge the maintenance, the cycle of care this architecture needs. It's a reminder. Resilience can be made from the soil itself. This idea of stability from a dynamic relationship with the base, that takes a more literal turn next. Where a structure isn't just sitting on the earth, it's designed to float above it when danger comes. The Temple of the Golden Pavilion, it's in Kyoto. It was built first in 1397, a golden pavilion floating on water. The top 2 floors are covered in gold leaf, but its foundation is different. It's built right over the edge of a pond, Kai, the mirror pond. The foundation isn't solid ground, it's wooden piles driven down into the muddy pond bed, and that's the secret. When the earth shakes, that soft, wet soil can amplify the waves, but the wooden piles are flexible. They let the structure sway, rock on its own, separate from the land moving around it. The energy gets absorbed, the wood gives, the saturated earth cushions it. The building is made to ride the quake, not fight it. Above that, there's the wooden frame. Traditional Japanese construction uses these through ties called long beams that pass right through the vertical pillars. They lock them together. It creates a box frame, stable but flexible, a skeleton that can twist and bend. And the roofs, those layered roofs with cypress bark shingles, they have wide eaves, they overhang, they act like balancing weights. They stabilize the whole tall form against sideways forces. The pavilion has a history. The original burned down in 1950, but it was rebuilt by 1955, rebuilt exactly using the same traditional methods that had worked for centuries in Japan. The reconstruction was a statement, faith in that old engineering. So you stand before it. There's this duality, the Zen idea of impermanence. You see it in the gold leaf on the water, a fleeting reflection. But then there's the design, the practical, resilient design, a deep commitment to endurance, to making something beautiful that can last, withstand the earth's turmoil. It's a harmony, spirit and science together. From this floating pavilion in Japan, we go back to the classical world, to an empire that built for crowds, for the applause of thousands. The Pantheon's dome is a single breath of stone. It opens in Rome, a perfect hemisphere. It's been watching the sky through that opening for almost 1900 years. This temple was finished around 126 AD, and it stands in a place where the ground can move. That it's still here is a testament to Roman engineering. It feels impossible even now. The secret wasn't about defying gravity, it was about working with it, collaborating. The material is the first thing. Roman concrete, the recipe is lost. Modern concrete can be brittle, but the ancient mix used volcanic ash, pozzolana. That gave it some tensile strength. It could stretch a little. It could bend without just breaking. The dome's design is graduated. At the base, where the stress is highest, the concrete is thick, dense. They mixed in heavy travertine stone, but as it curves up, they changed the mix. They lightened it. Up at the very top, around the great opening, the oculus, the concrete is full of pumice, light, porous volcanic stone. That gradation cut the dome's weight. It reduced the outward push on the walls below. Then the ceiling, those recessed panels, the coffers, they aren't just decoration. Each one carved away tons of material. It lightened the structure more, and it created that rhythm, that grandeur. This huge dome sits on a drum, a cylindrical wall over 20 feet thick. Inside that wall, hidden, is a skeleton, brick arches. They're like ribs in the concrete. They channel the dome's weight down. They send it through specific, strong paths into the foundation. The foundation is a massive ring of concrete. It's stepped, it's broad, it spreads the load deep into the stable ground. What you get is equilibrium, profound balance. Earthquakes have damaged other Roman monuments over the centuries, but the Pantheon's geometry has held. It's essentially intact. The bronze doors still swing on their original hinges. Rain still falls through the oculus. It drains away through almost invisible slopes in the marble floor. It makes you ask a quiet question. What did they know? What precise understanding of material science was in that lost recipe? A knowledge that let them sculpt space and light with strength that endures. Istanbul's skyline is held by this perfect dome, the mosque. It was built by the master architect in the 1550s, an Ottoman crown. It sits on a peninsula, right on one of the most active fault lines on Earth. This wasn't just a place of worship. It was the endpoint of centuries of seismic knowledge, a combination of Byzantine and Islamic engineering made to move with the trembling ground. Genius was a hierarchical structure, a central massive dome, then two half-domes flanking it, then smaller quarter-domes. This cascade of forms, it wasn't just for beauty. It created a clear descending path for force. When an earthquake hit, the energy would travel from the top of the central dome down through this network, through the arches and vaults. Like water flowing down a stepped waterfall, channeled and dissipated at every level. Holding this whole system up are the massive pillars. They're often called elephant feet. For their sheer girth, their tapered shape. These piers are anchored into enormous foundations deep into the bedrock of Istanbul's third hill. Between the stone blocks of these pillars used iron clamps sealed in lead, and in the critical joints he inserted thin sheets of lead itself. That metal is malleable. It allows for minute-controlled movement, so the structure could flex and settle without cracking the rigid stone. Even the materials were chosen for resilience. The great domes are built from specially made lightweight bricks, not heavy stone. That reduced the overall mass pressing down. It lessened the inertial forces during a tremor, and beneath the entire complex, he wove an intricate network of drainage channels. That kept the foundation soil stable and dry. It prevented the dangerous liquefaction that can topple even the strongest walls. The test came in 1766. A massive earthquake struck Istanbul. It leveled whole neighborhoods. It severely damaged other great monuments like the nearby mosque, but though close to the epicenter, came through with only minor, repairable damage. Its hierarchical structure had done its job. It directed that terrifying energy safely into the earth. Here, art and physics became one. The soaring space meant to lift the human spirit. It was also a meticulously calibrated machine for survival. It represents a moment where an architect, serving both empire and faith, found a perfect balance between monumental ambition and a profound respect for the power of nature. From this pinnacle of Ottoman engineering, the search for resilience leads somewhere else, to a place where the strategy wasn't to build a monument, but to weave one into the very fabric of a mountain. The Tiger's Nest Monastery is on a cliff face 3,000 feet up. It's in Bhutan, built in 1692, and it's in a very active seismic zone, but it survives. It's not by chance. Because the monastery is built to be part of the mountain. It's not just on the cliff, it's an extension of it, built on natural ledges around caves. Its foundation is the granite itself. So when the earth moves, the monastery doesn't resist. It sways with the mountain, as one mass. The construction shows this understanding. The walls are traditional rammed earth and stone. They have some flexibility, and they're reinforced with a wooden beam lattice, a flexible frame. It absorbs the seismic energy, distributes it. The most precarious sections are anchored right into the cliff, timber frames wedged into crevices, stone masonry keyed into the rock. It creates a bond. It moves with the mountain's own rhythm. The foundation work took patience. Builders carved level platforms from the cliff, built retaining walls to channel weight and water away. This design has lasted centuries, through the constant tectonic shifts of the Himalayas. Then in 1998 there was a fire, significant damage. The restoration that followed was about continuity. Craftsmen used the same traditional methods, the same materials, the same reverence. They rebuilt it, so the ancient seismic wisdom remained. Which makes you wonder, why build there? Such an impossible, perilous place for a sanctuary. The answer is in the spiritual pursuit, To build in that raw geology was to engage with the forces of creation, to seek enlightenment not in spite of the danger but by harmonizing with it. The monastery shows that true stability isn't about rigid opposition to nature's power, it's found in mindful integration with it. From this sanctuary of rock and faith, the journey descends to a different kind of carved city, where a civilization sought protection not on the cliffs but deep within them. The facade of Al comes out of the cliff, its columns and statues all cut from the living stone. This is Petra's treasury. The Nabateans carved it in the 1st century AD in a place where the ground can break. They chose the best form of seismic resistance. They didn't build a monument, they revealed one from inside the mountain. Its main defense is its nature. It's a monolithic sculpture. When the earth shakes, the whole facade sways with the sandstone cliff. It's part of it. There's no structure to collapse. The walls and ceiling are the mountain itself. The Nabateans showed a deep understanding of their geology. They picked stable, massive rock faces. They avoided fissures. They avoided weaker layers. The internal chambers were engineered carefully. The grand central hall behind that famous facade isn't just a hollowed-out cave. It's not prone to collapse. Its ceiling is held up by sections of solid rock left in place. They left them as natural pillars during the carving. That created a stable space, an integrated space. It keeps the cliff's own strength. The material itself helped. The rose-red sandstone. It's softer than granite, but it's homogeneous. They could carve it with real precision. They used iron chisels and stone hammers. They worked from the top down. They sculpted the details as they went. That method reduced the risk of falling debris. It let them constantly check the rock's stability. The result is a testament to permanence. For 2,000 years, the Treasury has faced the seismic shifts of the Jordan Rift Valley. The damage it shows doesn't come from earthquakes. It comes from slower forces, wind erosion, and from human contact, bullet marks from Bedouin tribes, the wear from countless hands. Its endurance points to a deep architectural philosophy. In a transient world, the Nabateans wanted a legacy, not by building something on the earth, but by becoming one with it. They turned the mountain into a message meant to outlast empires. That pursuit of stability within the landscape itself finds a contrast far to the north, where another culture faced a different kind of earth, not desert stone but frozen ground, trembling ground, and they built not by carving but by joining wood, cleverly joining it against the cold. In the Stave Church in Norway's deep forests, built around 1180. You see these dark timber walls, these tiered roofs, steeply pitched, and from the gables carved dragon heads facing into the wind. This is a landscape of long winters, heavy snow, and deep tremors from the ancient earth. The church is a wooden fortress of faith built to withstand it all. Its secret is in the name stave construction. The whole building is a framework, massive vertical timber posts, the staves, each one set into a horizontal sill beam resting on a raised stone foundation. That creates a rigid wooden box but slightly flexible. The stones keep the timber dry, lifted away from ground moisture and rot. But the joinery holds the secret. The posts and beams are connected with complex wooden joints, mortise and tenon, locked together without a single nail. This intricate carpentry lets the structure sway as a unified whole. When a tremor passes through the ground, the energy travels up into this interlocked wooden skeleton. The joints flex, the frame shifts. The force is dissipated across hundreds of precise connections. The church is also preserved with a thick coating of pine tar, a traditional treatment that waterproofs the wood, fights decay. And then the roof, that dramatic cascade of shingles. Its extreme pitch is a direct response to the climate, designed to shed immense loads of snow quickly. That was critical, because the weight of accumulated snow on a roof during an earthquake could be the final catastrophic stress. By shedding that weight naturally, the design removed a major compounding danger. The result of this thinking is a structure that's endured over 8 centuries. Stands as one of the best preserved stave churches in the world, a testament to how climate and seismicity together shape architectural form. It asks us to see buildings not as separate from their environment, but as conversations with it. A dialogue with wind, snow, and trembling stone, answered in wood and tar and timeless craft. And now we approach our final ancient wonder, a structure that serves as a bridge between all these eras of wisdom. 2,000 years of water still echo in its. The Aqueduct of in Spain. It's a Roman structure built from granite sometime in the 1st or 2nd century. It wasn't a temple, it wasn't a fortress, it was a tool, a machine. It carried water over 16 kilometers to a thirsty city, and in that pure functional form it became something else, an accidental masterpiece of seismic resilience. The design is simple, a double-tiered arcade, 167 arches, built from precisely cut granite blocks, no mortar. Clamps, just gravity, just perfect balance holding it all together. Each arch is a lesson in load transfer. The wedge-shaped stones, the voussoirs, they lean against one another. The weight of the water channel above presses down, and that force is transformed. It becomes a lateral push outward, channeled down through the curve of the arch into the massive piers below. The genius is in the geometry. If an earthquake causes a block to shift, the arch's shape naturally redistributes the load. The structure adjusts. It finds a new equilibrium. It's a system of beautiful redundancy. The foundation work was deliberate. The Romans excavated down to stable bedrock for the piers, a firm base that resisted settling and tilting. The granite itself was chosen for its compressive strength, its ability to bear immense weight without crumbling. For nearly this aqueduct has performed its silent duty, enduring not just time, but the seismic whispers of the Iberian Peninsula. It survived the Middle Ages when parts were repurposed, and it stands today in a modern city, a bridge between ancient utility and enduring art. After exploring 20 such wonders from wooden pagodas to mountain monasteries, you look for a common thread, and perhaps it's this, that the most timeless principles of resilience are often the simplest: balance over brute force, flexibility over rigidity, a profound dialogue with the materials at hand and the earth below. The aqueduct doesn't fight the landscape, it strides across it, an embodiment of quiet confidence. It asks what we might build if we design not just for our time but for the 2,000 years to come. A wooden pagoda, a marble temple, a city cut from a cliff. They seem completely different, but they share a grammar, a set of rules for survival understood long before we had the science for it. The first rule is flexibility, but not a weak flexibility, a designed one. The brackets in China, the interlocking stones at the timber frames in, they all create joints that can move. The structure can sway, it can rock, it absorbs the tremor's energy instead of resisting it until it breaks. It's a controlled deformation. The building dances with the earthquake. Then there's energy dissipation. Ancient builders found ways to scatter the force, to keep it from concentrating. In Japan, the pagoda has a central pillar that hangs like a massive pendulum. It dampens the shake. Pyramids have rubble cores, walls have rubble cores. Foundations sit on gravel beds. These all act as cushions. They turn a violent wave into a ripple. Stable geometry is another one. A pyramid's low center of gravity, a fortress wall that slopes inward, the curve of an arch. These shapes resist overturning. They channel force down and out into the earth. They use gravity as an anchor. And finally, integration. Petra, carved from the rock, with its seamless masonry. The most resilient structures blur the line between building and landscape. They become extensions of the bedrock. They move with it as one single, massive unit. Modern engineers look at these strategies with respect. They see the intuitive origin of their own advanced tech. That bracket, it's a primitive form of what we call a moment-resisting frame. Loose stone foundations, flexible wooden piles, early versions of base isolation. We decouple a building from the shaking ground. Today we use rubber and steel. They used gravel and timber. The principle is the same. The suspended pillar in the pagoda is a tuned mass damper. Taipei 101 uses a giant steel ball for the same reason, to counteract sway. This connection brings up a question. With all our computers and material science, what wisdom did we leave behind? The ancient builder used local materials: wood, stone, earth. Materials with a natural flexibility, or that could be assembled in forgiving ways. Modern reinforced concrete is incredibly strong, but it can be brittle, and when it fails catastrophically. The old ways point to a deeper sustainability, building with what the land provides, in a form the land understands. This isn't about abandoning steel and concrete, it's about re-engaging with that philosophy, to design not just for load on paper but for dynamic response, for a living, moving world. Maybe the biggest lesson from these survivors is humility. Resilience isn't about conquering nature, it's about conversing with it, creating structures that are, in their bones, listeners. These 20 ancient structures from all over the world share something. They speak the same language. It's a language of listening. For centuries, the people who built them watched the tremors. They saw the landslides. They felt the power of the earth itself. They didn't see that force as an enemy, something you just try to overpower with mass. They saw it as something to understand, to respect, to work with, and what they created wasn't just art or a place of devotion. It was a kind of engineering, an intuitive, brilliant kind. We've been inside pagodas that sway. They move like trees in the wind, their wooden joints breathing with each shake. We've looked at stone fortresses, where every block is unique, a piece of a giant interlocking puzzle, and that puzzle actually tightens when stress comes. We've seen domes that channel force like water flowing, and we've walked into mountains that were hollowed out to become shelters. The ideas behind it all, they're timeless: flexibility, not brittle rigidity, balance, a low center of gravity using weight as an anchor. And the materials, wood, earth, stone, they used what was local. They used it intelligently, almost poetically, each material chosen for what it naturally does well. And then sometimes the deepest strategy, it was integration. Humble integration. The choice wasn't to put a structure on top of the world. It was to weave it into the world's own fabric. These monuments, they're more than old relics, they're lessons in resilience, carved and stacked against the sky. They tell us the best defense against nature's power isn't a shout of defiance. It's a thoughtful design, an adaptive one, a design that moves, that gives, that dissipates. So now today we face our own seismic challenges. We have advanced alloys, computer models. These ancient masters can still inspire us to look beyond just strength, to build for endurance, smart endurance, to create spaces that are, in the end, listeners.